The number circled on your last blood test, the one labeled eGFR, may not mean what you think it means. If that number was 58, or 55, or 52, there is a chance someone used the words chronic kidney disease and stage 3 in the same sentence. And if that happened, there is a good chance you carried that sentence home with you, quietly, maybe for months, maybe longer. But if your number was 68, or 70, or 72, there is also a chance your doctor glanced at it and said, "That's fine for your age," and moved on. Those sound like opposite situations. They are not. Because the real question is not whether your eGFR is above or below one cutoff. The real question is this: is your kidney function changing at a rate that makes sense for your age, or faster than it should? That is a different question, a better question, and most printouts do not answer it. A team of researchers at Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic looked at 1,638 living kidney donors, healthy adults cleared to donate a kidney, and did something medicine almost never gets to do in living people. They estimated the actual number of functioning filtering units inside the kidneys by combining CT imaging of kidney cortex with biopsy-based glomerular density measurements. In young adults ages 18 to 29, they found an average of about 990,000 functioning glomeruli per kidney. In adults ages 70 to 75, that number was about 520,000 per kidney. Roughly half. In people healthy enough to donate, PMC. That means two people can have the same eGFR on paper and be living in completely different realities. One person's kidneys may be aging in a way that is expected for their decade of life. The other person's kidneys may be losing function faster than expected, and the simple cutoff on the lab report does not tell you which is which. So if you have ever sat in a doctor's office wondering, am I actually getting sicker, or am I just getting older? This is the conversation you are trying to have. By the end of this video, you are going to know 4 things. First, you will know why the number itself is not enough, and why the trend over time matters more. Second, you will know the name of the one blood test that can help when creatinine gives a muddy picture, cystatin C. Third, you will know the urine test that belongs in the same conversation, the albumin to creatinine ratio, or ACR. And fourth, you will know the exact sentence to say at your next appointment that turns either "fine for your age" or "stage 3 CKD" into a real discussion about what is actually happening inside your body. Before we go any further, one important line: this is not permission to ignore a low result, skip a nephrology visit, or stop any medication. It is the opposite. This is about learning enough to ask a better question in the room with your doctor. Now let's start with what eGFR is actually measuring, and what it is not. Your kidneys are built out of tiny filtering units called nephrons. At the front end of each nephron is a little bundle of capillaries called a glomerulus. That is where blood gets filtered. That is where waste, salt, water, and pressure begin to get sorted out. The G in eGFR stands for glomerular. The test is trying to estimate how much filtration your kidneys are doing per minute. That is useful, very useful, but it is still an estimate. And it is an estimate built mostly from creatinine, which is a waste product influenced not only by kidney filtration, but also by muscle mass, diet, illness, and age-related body changes. Here is the picture I want you to keep in your head. Think of your kidneys as a house with a very large fuse box. Each fuse is one small filter. The total amount of electrical current moving through the house is your eGFR. When you are younger, you have more intact fuses. As the decades pass, some are lost. The system keeps working because the remaining ones carry more load. That means the total current can look acceptable, even while the reserve has changed a lot. That is the trap. The lab printout sees the current. It does not directly see how many fuses are left. And from around midlife onward, healthy adults do lose filtering units over time. That is one reason the age debate around eGFR exists. Some nephrologists argue that using the same fixed threshold for everyone can overlabel older adults whose kidneys are aging normally. Others argue that lowering the threshold too much risks missing older adults whose decline is real and clinically important. That debate is active, and the guideline bodies have not fully settled it by changing the main definition. PMC. So here are the two doors. Door A. Your eGFR is below 60, maybe 58 or 55, and someone has written CKD stage 3A in your chart. You have been frightened, maybe embarrassed, maybe confused, and the truth may be that your kidneys are aging in a way that is not dramatically different from many other people your age, especially if there is no albumin in the urine, no rapid decline, and no other sign of damage. Door B. Your eGFR is still above 60, maybe 68 or 70, and you have been reassured. But over 3 or 4 years it has been drifting down faster than expected, and no one has actually looked at the slope. In that case, the reassurance may be incomplete. Same kind of printout, same kind of office visit, two different stories. That is why the question that matters most is no longer just, is my eGFR under 60? The better question is, how fast is it changing? Because kidneys do not live as single snapshots, they live as trends. So let's get practical. There are 5 clues the standard annual blood panel often misses when it comes to this exact question. The first clue is the most important one, and you may already have it in a drawer or on your patient portal tonight. The slope. Not the last number, the movement. Pull up the eGFR from the last 3 yearly tests if you can. Write them left to right, oldest to newest. Then look at the pace of change. If someone went from 68 to 67 to 66, that is a very different story, from 72 to 66 to 60. A small decline over time may fit expected aging. A faster drop deserves a closer look, even if the most recent number is still technically above the old threshold. And a fast drop matters even more if it is happening alongside rising blood pressure, diabetes, swelling, or abnormal urine protein. The second clue is the blood test most people have never heard of until they need it. Cystatin C. Cystatin C is a small protein produced by nucleated cells in the body and filtered by the kidneys. It is generally less affected by muscle mass than creatinine, which makes it especially useful when the creatinine-based estimate may be off. For example, in older adults with muscle loss, people with unusual body composition, certain diets, or situations where you need a more precise estimate. The 2024 KDIGO CKD guideline keeps creatinine-based eGFR as the usual first step, but specifically supports using creatinine plus cystatin C when more precision is needed, or when creatinine alone may be inaccurate. PMC. That matters more than most people realize. Because if your body has lost muscle over the years, your creatinine story may not perfectly match your kidney story. Sometimes creatinine makes kidney function look worse than it is. And sometimes it makes it look better than it is. The point is not that creatinine is useless. The point is that in some people it is not enough. The third clue is in the urine, not the blood. Albumin to creatinine ratio, or ACR. Albumin is a protein that healthy kidneys usually keep in the bloodstream. If albumin starts leaking into the urine, that can be an early sign of kidney damage, even before the eGFR alone tells the full story. The modern CKD framework does not rely on GFR alone. It combines GFR category and albuminuria category, because the two together predict risk more accurately than either one alone. The KDIGO 2024 Executive Summary specifically says people at risk for CKD should be tested with both urine albumin measurement and assessment of GFR. KDIGO Executive Summary PDF. That means if you have been staring at eGFR numbers for years and no one has ever discussed urine albumin with you, the picture may be incomplete. The fourth clue is the one people brush off because it sounds ordinary. Changes in urination. Foamy urine that is new, waking more often to urinate at night when that is a change for you, swelling in the ankles, needing to think harder about fluid balance than you used to. None of these by themselves diagnose kidney disease, but in context, symptoms can add meaning to a trend. The fifth clue is blood pressure. Kidneys and blood pressure are not neighbors. They are dance partners. If kidney function is under stress, blood pressure often reflects it, and high blood pressure can also worsen kidney loss over time. So when you see blood pressure creeping upward while eGFR is drifting downward, do not treat those as unrelated stories. Now pause here and imagine the difference between two patients. The first walks into an appointment with one number in their head, from the last 3 years, ACR if available, and blood pressure trend. Those are not the same appointment. And this is where most people ask the obvious question. Why has my doctor never explained any of this? The lazy answer is to blame the doctor. The accurate answer is to blame the structure. A primary care appointment in the United States is often around 15 minutes. In that time, your doctor is expected to review medications, blood pressure, heart risk, glucose, vaccines, symptoms, preventive care, refills, lab review, and whatever new concern brought you in. The system is fast, the inbox is full, the chart is crowded, and kidney nuance rarely gets center stage unless the number is extreme, the symptoms are loud, or the patient brings the issue forward clearly. That is not a defense of rushed medicine, it is an explanation of it. Meanwhile, the science has been moving. The nephron-counting donor research sharpened the aging conversation. The age-adapted CKD definition papers argued that using the same threshold at every age may overdiagnose some older adults. Counter-arguments warned that changing the threshold too much could cause real harm by missing risk in older adults who still face higher rates of hospitalization and cardiovascular events, even at modest reductions in eGFR. And when KDIGO updated its CKD guideline in 2024, it did not replace the main low eGFR threshold with an age-adjusted one. But it did put more emphasis on using cystatin C with creatinine when accuracy matters. PMC. That is the opening. The threshold debate is still real, but the tool for clarifying your own case already exists. So here is how you use it in the room. Bring one sheet of paper. On it, write your last 3 eGFR values, your urine ACR if you have it, and your blood pressure trend. Put the paper on the desk. Then say this. I've been looking at my eGFR over the last few years, and what I want to understand today is whether my rate of decline looks expected for my age, or faster than expected. That sentence is strong because it is calm, it is specific, it does not accuse. It does not dramatize. It does not demand a diagnosis in the first breath. It asks the right question. And notice what it does. It moves the discussion from a static label to a dynamic pattern. If your doctor leans in and starts reviewing the trend, excellent. If your doctor says, the number is fine for your age, or, on the other side, this is just stage 3, we'll watch it, then they have answered a slightly different question. In that moment, stay calm and say, I understand the current number. What I'm asking about is whether the year-to-year change looks faster than normal aging. Once. Not 3 times. Once. Then comes the second ask. Would it make sense to confirm this with a cystatin C-based eGFR or a combined creatinine cystatin C estimate, since creatinine alone may be less accurate in my situation? That is a medically grounded request. And it is aligned with the 2024 guidance, which supports using the combined estimate when more precision is needed, or when creatinine alone may be misleading. PMC. Then ask the urine question if it has not already been addressed. Do we have a recent urine albumin to creatinine ratio? And if not, should we get one so we're not judging kidney risk from eGFR alone? That sentence matters because risk is not built from one value. Kidney medicine increasingly works on a 2-axis model, filtration and leakage, GFR and albumin, both matter. Now let's talk about what happens after those tests, because this is where people finally learn which door they are standing in front of. If your creatinine-based eGFR looked low, but the cystatin C-supported estimate comes back meaningfully better, that may suggest your original number was influenced by body composition, and that the situation is less ominous than the label implied. If the cystatin C result confirms the lower kidney function, or if the combined estimate is still low, especially alongside albumin in the urine, that strengthens the case that the decline is real and deserves closer evaluation. Either way, you are no longer guessing from a single imperfect angle. You are triangulating. And that is what good medicine looks like. There is one more tool I want you to know by name, because it answers the question people are actually asking in the dark at 2 a.m. Not, do I have a code in my chart? But, what is my real risk over the next few years? That tool is the kidney failure risk equation, or KFRE. The public calculator uses 4 variables: age, sex, eGFR, and urine ACR. It gives a 2-year and 5-year risk of kidney failure in people with CKD stages 3 to 5. It has been validated internationally and is widely used in nephrology. kidneyfailurerisk.com. If your doctor has not run the risk discussion in that language, the KFRE gives you a more individualized frame. Not perfect, not destiny, but better than a raw label alone. Now, before we close, let me give you the one chart note line that changes the appointment from a passing conversation into part of your medical record. Say this before the visit ends. Could you document that I asked whether my eGFR decline is faster than expected for my age, and whether cystatin C and urine ACR help clarify my actual kidney risk? That line does something subtle and powerful. It records the question. If the doctor agrees and orders the tests, great. The note shows the reasoning. If the doctor does not think the tests are needed, the note still shows that the question was raised and discussed. And if you ever need a second opinion, a future nephrology referral, or continuity across a different practice, that question now travels with the chart. Do not underestimate what written questions do over time. Now, 3 things not to do. Do not stop an ACE inhibitor, ARB, SGLT2 inhibitor, or any kidney-related medication because a video made you think the label may be imperfect. Those medications may still be doing exactly what they are supposed to do. Do not walk into the room trying to prove the doctor wrong. Your job is not to win. Your job is to recruit the doctor into a more precise conversation. And do not reduce your whole future to one lab value. Because your kidneys are not one number. They are a pattern, a context, a timeline. So here is the future I want you to picture. 6 months from now, you are back in the same office. But this time you are not sitting there hoping the doctor reads your mind. You have your page, you have your trend. Maybe you have your cystatin C result. Maybe you have your urine ACR result. Maybe you have already run the KFRE on your phone. The appointment is no longer about whether you are fine or not fine. It is about what kind of risk you actually carry and what specifically to do next. That is a different life. And then there is the other future, the one where nothing gets written down, nothing gets asked, the number gets glanced at again next year, and the same question follows you home one more time. You do not need a medical degree to avoid that future. You need 1 page. 3 numbers. 1 calm sentence. If someone you love calls you a few months from now and says, "My eGFR came back low, and I don't know what it means," you do not have to give them medical advice. You can give them a better process. Tell them to check the trend. Tell them to ask about cystatin C. Tell them to ask about urine ACR. Tell them to ask whether the rate of change fits the age or exceeds it. Tell them to get the question documented. That is not panic, that is literacy. And that, really, is the larger point. This is not only a kidney story. This is a medicine story. Because the same pattern appears in other places too. 1 threshold, 1 printout, 1 label, applied across very different bodies,